What's good, everybody? It's your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again, here with another video collaboration. And today, I have a real special guest, man. One of the more talented and one of the top brightest African American male content creators, regardless of social media. I'll let him introduce himself and what he does. Brother, go ahead and let them know who you are.
My name is Dennis Sperling. I'm an attorney, and I've been a great fan of O'Shea Duke Jackson for many years. So it's an honor to be here. Practice law in the state of Texas. I'm licensed in a few other states. I'm a dad. I'm new to the YouTube streets, but for the most part, what I try to do with my page is try to give young men advice that I wish somebody had given me when I was younger. And the parameter that I use is would I tell my sons this? Would I give this same advice to my sons? So I try to give moral, sound advice. That's what I try to get guys. That's how I operate, and I feel like there's a need for that. And I'm not too preachy. I might, get on the pulpit every now and then, but I'm not a Bible thumper. But I try to do my very best to try to give guys, especially young black men, good moral advice. Even though my message is for all men. Because black men don't really have a voice and they don't have an advocate, I try to do that. And I've appeared on different national television shows recently, Fox Soul, which I gave a shout out to O'Shea Duke Jackson. But I'm a regular appearance. I make regular appearances on Fox here in Houston with Isaiah Carey. Also have a television show, co-parenting with the Sperlings, and it ran for 2 seasons. It was a top-rated show. It was a story about me raising my sons with my ex-wife, and then and also in my relationship with my child's mother, because I got an ex-wife and a baby mama. So I know what you're going through. I still do brother stuff. You know what I'm saying? we all can get caught up. We are not immune, my brother. We are not immune.
Right.
But that's pretty. And I'm from California, man. Born and raised in Los Angeles, California.
Okay. Y'all see the West Coast representing over here. So, shout out to the brother. And you're very intelligent, man. Very, very well accomplished, and we're glad to have you over here in our community. And one of the things I've been meaning to, because people have been asking me about you and Tieson Johnson.
Oh yeah.
And so, because they said that my content was getting a little bit too dumb over here, so I said, okay, I know some bright brothers that'll come with it. So,
right.
You put up a number of live streams, and your channel was growing quite rapidly. And the topic that struck me was on your Dennis Sperling Filtered channel.
Right.
He said it's called "Don't Date Single Mothers, or you may be ordered to pay child support." I said, "Wow, this is interesting."
Yeah.
Because here in the manosphere spaces, there are many reasons why guys tell people not to date women with children, and it revolves around being a cleanup man type of archetype, or not being her first choice. But yours was your argument is based clearly on legality, right? Or purely on legality. What do you mean by when you say that?
Well, let me say this, O'Shea. I'm not here to tell people what to do. Like I said, I give young men advice. They can use the advice if they want to. This is not just for young men, it's older men. Again, I don't practice family law, but there have been some developments in the family law area of law. Think about it. And it's only recent, relatively speaking. In 2015, the Supreme Court addressed the same-sex marriage arguments in the Oberville Hodges case. And basically what that case was about 2 women who were married, and one of them wanted rights to, it was about 2 women who were trying to get a divorce or trying to get married, and it was forcing the different states to recognize those marriages. Of course, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of same-sex marriage, and that's how we got that ruling. Now, as a result of that, there's been some changes in case law. There's a case out of Michigan, and it's called Stankovich v. Milleron. And this case came down out of the appellate court of Michigan in November of 2015, shortly after the Supreme Court case. And basically what they said was that this is another case where two women wanted to have custody over a child, one the biological mother, one the non-biological parent. But because she had spent so much time with the child, they said, well, she took on a parental role, and because of that, she's entitled to custody. Now, what had already been on the books was the fact that they can make a person, at that time, they used the tank language, a biological father, pay child support, even if it was against his will. And so now I'm sitting here contemplating, like, wow, that's a horrible situation to be in. And here's something else, and I'd like to share this with you, O'Shea. I'm going to bring this up on the screen here if I can. This is a post that I saw on the internet a while, I guess maybe last week. If you don't think women are thinking about this, let's read this post. Can you make a male babysitter pay child support? I'm a single mom going to college with my sister. We currently rent an apartment together. A couple of weeks ago, I asked my neighbor, a trustworthy guy, if he could watch the kids for 2 hours. Well, I went to class and my sister wasn't home and he agreed. If he babysits and doesn't accept pay, can I sue him for child support because he took on a fatherly role? I'm sure I can convince the court that he accepted the fatherly role. So basically what I'm saying is, if you're not careful, you could get caught up in a situation where you could have a judge, a woman sue you. Yes. And so the answer, her first question, can you sue him? Yes, you can sue him. Now, can you get a lawyer to sue him? That's going to be based on whether or not a lawyer feels like there's a good faith claim. But if you got that Oberfield Hodges case, and you couple that with the fact that you got this case out of Michigan, and I posted this up too, O'Shea, if you can allow it, because I want the people to see the language. This is what the court said in that November 2015 case. This court stated that given its recognition that a person who is not the biological father of a child may be considered a parent against his will, which means even if you fuss and fight, that ain't not my child. That's not my child. I don't want to be the parent. It's not that he even volunteered to say, I'm the daddy, call me daddy, No, not like the case in Stankovich case. They're referring to another case that happened back in 1996. Against this will, they made this guy be the dad. Consequently, they burden him with the responsibility of paying child support. Such a person in being treated as a parent may also seek rights of custody or parenting. So basically they're saying, yeah, before, we can make somebody be the father against their will. That wasn't a problem. And we would burden them with child support. But it was kind of up in the air whether or not we would give this non-biological parent permission to spend time with this child. But now, since the equitable parent doctrine has been strengthened by the Oberfield Hodges case out of the Supreme Court of the United States, yeah, we'll go ahead and let them have parenting time too. So what does this mean for the average brother who's hanging out with a single mom? What it means is, if she can get someone to write a letter or someone to come testify that, he took my child to school, he picked my child up from school, he paid for my child's clothing, he took my child to the doctor, he babysat, he took my child to a babysitter, to a baseball game, football game. But he overall spent his time with my child, and heaven forbid, they call you daddy or stepdad, right? So now what have you done? You've basically given them enough facts to at least allege that you've taken on the fatherly role. So when you break up with your ex-girlfriend and you say, I'm done with you, you cheated on me, you broke the windows out of my car, I'm through with you, she can then go find a family law lawyer, present to him that fact pattern, and then what? And then you get sued because the lawyer says, well, I have a good faith belief this child, under the equitable parent doctrine, there's a good faith belief, there's a good claim here. Like, maybe I'll lose, maybe I'll win. But guess what? Even defending that is going to cost you money. You're going to have to retain a lawyer to fight against that. That may be $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $10,000, and it goes up on appeal. On an appeal, it can be astronomical. So you got to fight with a woman who and they know and everybody knows you haven't had a child with. You may not even have had a sexual relationship with the woman. That's how expansive this can go. So what I'm trying to warn you guys is, this is the potential that's out there. I'm not saying it'll happen today. I'm not saying it'll happen tomorrow. but it's going to happen at some point. Somebody is going to be the test case, because here's what the government is looking at. The government is saying marriages rates are going down. We need somebody to take these. The out of wedlock birth rate is going up. We need somebody to help take care of these kids, because otherwise we're on the hook for taking care of these kids. We got to pay for medical. We got to pay for welfare. We got to do that. So why not get the closest man available to help pay for those kids? So if a woman can get you on the hook, man, she will. And this, I just thought it was interesting, man. And that's why I brought it up. And if you don't think women are thinking about that, refer back to that post that I put up from 10 years ago.
Let me ask you, you make a good point, because you talked about the Stankovich case that was in Michigan, and then the
Overfield case out of the Supreme Court of the United States, right?
And then the post you talked about the babysitter. Now, somebody might come in and say, well, Counselor Sperling, this is a case that happened in Michigan,
right?
I mean, come on, man. I'm in South Carolina. I'm in Tennessee, and this is just an anomaly. You know, that happened in Michigan, but what does that got to do with Tennessee? What does that got to do with Virginia? What would you say to somebody who asks that?
I would say that a lawyer like myself who practices law in Texas, Louisiana, Illinois, and New York, licensed to practice in state court, would be aware of those cases. And the only question is whether or not he had a good faith basis to make those allegations. And since the equitable parent doctrine has been strengthened, and this Stankley case based it on the Oberville Hodges case, which is a United States Supreme Court case, there's a good faith basis for them to make those allegations. In other words, what they can do is they could say, look, Your Honor, the Supreme Court has strengthened the Supreme Court of the United States, which governs all of our cases here in the United States, in state court, federal court. That's the supreme authority. They have strengthened the equitable parent doctrine. And so, matter of fact, I'll have you take a look at this Stankley case, which is out of Michigan, and it's not binding authority in the state of Kentucky. But look at the rationale that they followed, and the rationale is sound, and we need to impose that here. It's in the best interest of the child to make sure that the person who took on that fatherly role for the past 2.5, 3, 4, 5 years maintains that role, because it's in the best interest. They took the role, so now they can't up and abandon it. They can maybe break up in the relationship with the mother, but not the child, Judge. And you'll get a judge. I'm telling you guys, there's a judge out there.
Oh yeah.
That will say, well, this case, we're not going to dismiss it on summary judgment. We're going to let it go to trial. Everybody deserves their day in court. And you got to pay for that. And heaven forbid you say, I'm out of money. And your lawyer says, well, maybe you can settle. And then you end up paying child support for a child that's not yours. Or you go to a jury trial, you get a judgment, and it's either favorable or unfavorable, and it gets appealed. So now you're caught up in a situation where you're paying money. Imagine spending 7 years in your 20s or 30s while you're trying to build yourself up. And your money is going to pay for some case for child support for a kid that's not yours. Imagine how much of a drain that will be on you. You see? And that's why I'm just telling you, young men, older men, every man, just be aware. And here's the thing, they do it often in Canada. So it's not like it's foreign. Canada is where it's happening. Now, it'd be one thing if somebody said, well, that's up in Canada, that's not here. Then it's what the heck you talking about? Well, now it's landed in our backyard. It's a quick ride from Michigan to Ohio, and you can make your way to the rest of the states from there. And trust me, if they're doing it in Michigan, California, New York, and some of these other democratic, more liberal, female-friendly states are going to take that mantle and go with it.
Al Gree's popular filmmaker made a movie called Frustrated 2, the child support system, which talks about everything that you're talking about right now. You had guys on there that were not the father and were paying child support. Yeah. And they, go ahead.
Well, there are different scenarios in which you can. 30% of men, and look, let me tell these guys, don't call me about your child support issues, fella. I deal with car accidents, 18-wheelers, slip and falls. Don't you call me. You better not call my office asking me for help. I'm doing this as almost like a public service announcement. This is basic family law. Any family law lawyer can kind of talk to you about the equitable parent doctrine. Now, can they tell you what's going to happen? Can they tell you you will never get sued for a child support to pay child's not yours? They can't do it. But back to what I was saying before, 30% of men in the UK are paying for children that aren't theirs. And I would have
to say it again.
30% of men, and there was a study that came out that said 30% of men are paying for children that aren't theirs biologically. And some know and some don't know. In this situation here in the United States, there are different scenarios where you can end up paying for a child that's not biologically yours already. There was a case out of Texas where a man, I believe he was in jail at the time. Well, actually, here's how it went. He was paying for a child. Money was coming out of his check every month. So the woman had said, this child is yours. They began to garnish his check. It was like $20, $30. He barely noticed it. And so the time period to fight against that had elapsed. I believe it was 2 years at the time. But nevertheless, he let 15, 20 years go by and he stopped paying it because he got a new job or whatever, and they couldn't find him. And so by the time she caught back up with him again, he was $60,000 in arrears. This child wasn't his child, period. DNA evidence had proved it. So that's once, but he still was forced to pay under the current state of the law. So this is not something that's that uncommon. People have to pay. People are sometimes forced to pay for children that aren't theirs, even if they know it's not theirs. So that's no safety. That's no umbrella to hide under, O'Shea.
Well, let me ask you this, because obviously, for a lot of the, black men, and I hate to go here, but in our community, obviously single parenthood is something that's on the rise. Mm-hmm. With a lot of African American men, with a lot of sisters that are historically, black men have been known to be a little bit more tolerant of dating single moms, because a lot of our families were kind of unified, like the Brady Bunch. He had kids, she had kids, we kind of got together and we kind of been like that. But what if it's a brother that, you like African American women, you want to stay in the black community, like you're very involved in the black community as a professional. Yeah. And, you want to date black women, but, obviously there are some black women that have kids, right? And it's a problem for you. What, knowing back on your life, just in picking a mate, what would you suggest to black men who, because they'll say, well, not all single moms are like this, but they want to date and possibly stay in the black community. What would you suggest how they should go about it in trying to attract some woman that is, that don't have kids and things like that?
Well, man, O'Shea, I don't give dating advice, and that's one thing I don't do. I don't give relationship advice. But what I will say is watch your wallet, because whatever future you have, whatever you're trying to build yourself up to be, will be seriously jeopardized by a monthly child support payment. What happens if you go back on you get it in arrears on your child support, right? You lose your license, your driver's license. I know you're on your way to medical school, you lose your medical license, your law license, your trucking license, so you can't work. This is and you're paying, and this is because of child support that you're paying for a child that's not yours. But generally speaking, in the black community, I believe it's somewhere between 70 to 80% of children are born out of wedlock. Mm-hmm. And so in a situation like that, you kind of, you date at your own peril. You date a woman, you have a bad relationship, you break up, but you created a relationship with that child. She has that option, and it's not well known at this point, but she will have that option. And the question is, do you want your future and your fortune and your destiny in the hands of someone else, especially an ex-girlfriend? It's already bad enough to have a wife, an ex-wife. Now you got imagine if all your ex-girlfriends who had
my goodness. I know where you're going. Go ahead and say that.
Got together and put you on child support for all these kids that aren't yours.
I didn't even think about that.
The children that you hadn't even, hell, it's not even about ex-girlfriends. What if the neighbor's kid, who you spent a lot of time with, developed a fatherly relationship with you? And so now you got the neighbor's kid who said, oh, I miss him. And his mom says, there's nothing I can do about it. Can you come visit? Well, no, I can't. I moved out of town. Well, I'm going to go ahead and put you on child support because you maintained a fatherly relationship with my son for the 5 or 6 years you were our neighbor. You taught him how to cut grass. You see what I'm saying, man?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost to the point that it's gotten to the point that this regime of law has become ridiculous. And that's what happens when you have cases like Oberville and Hodges. And whatever you feel about same-sex marriage, it's a stretch, right? It's a stretch. It's a stretch in the law. You're allowing people from the same. See, marriage was originally created as a biblical principle. Yeah, you could get married to multiple women. You get all kind of stuff, but it was between a man and a woman, and typically the children were the responsibility of the father.
Mm-hmm.
And we could prove who the father was, or at least if he was born during the marriage, it's the child's father. But now we've kind of stretched that law into a no man's land. So who knows what's going to happen? Right. You know, and this is what happens when you start getting into absurdities and unknown regions. These things happen. This is a glitch in the system that hasn't been corrected, and I would hate for any of you guys to be the ones that correct. Where does it stop is the question. Where does it stop? Is it going to stop with people who have been in relationships with folks? What about your next door neighbor? What about a kid you just spent a little bit of time? You taught them how to, take an engine out of a F-150, and now that's deemed the fatherly role. It's going to be a fact pattern. It's wide open, O'Shea. We don't know yet. I don't know. And any lawyer, I don't care how much family law any lawyer that says they know, oh, that's crazy. They don't know, because the first thing you learn in law school is that there are no definites. There are just arguments, and there are facts, and there are questions. And then the jury is going to determine. And nobody ever knows what the jury is going to do. So there you go.
Wow. Well, brother, you really summed it up for us here in this short segment. I do appreciate you coming over and just explaining these things to us. For the brothers that's going to come, it's going to be a very powerful video, and I'm glad you were able to use your expertise in just breaking this down and making this a public service announcement to those people who are in this Black male online community. If they come and subscribe to the Dennis Sperling YouTube channel, what kind of content will they expect to see?
Well, I try to keep it upbeat. I try to keep it relevant to what Black men are dealing with right now. But it's called Dennis Sperling Unfiltered. I have a wealth of knowledge. As I told you earlier, I've written 3 books. Rules to Live by: How to Maintain Peace of Mind and Happiness in a Conflicted World. I've also done music videos. I have television shows, and then I have a thriving law practice based in Houston, Texas. So I have a wealth of knowledge, and I just want to share that with you guys. And again, being a father of 3 Black sons, it's important to me to make sure I put out, good karma, good content, because I know that eventually that will come back to me and my children. You see, what I want to do is have 22.5 million healthy, strong, able, mentally stable, physically fit, emotionally stable, financially able Black men walking around the United States. And so that benefits me because my sons will have role models to look up to. And oftentimes, African-American women will get mad at my content sometimes because I just speak the truth. Mm-hmm. But I'm their best friend because I want these able, fit Black men walking around this country. And the thing is, if there are more able, fit, emotionally stable, financially able Black men walking around, guess what's going to happen? That's more men for them to choose from. And here's another thing. And, a lot of people may not understand, my perspective and where I'm coming from. But I want Black men to stand up for themselves. You see, mm-hmm. I want you guys to recognize you need to send that woman back to her child's father. Because as long as women understand that they can get pregnant by one man and then go get another man to take care of them, then they'll exercise that option. And now with having the law on their side, all they have to do is dupe or trick some guy into spending some time with their children, and then a fact pattern arises that they can use and then file suit. Then they can hook their children up with men who have more money and divest that father, that biological father, of the right that he has to raise his own children. So there's 2 or 3 wrongs in there. So you guys, you brothers, you need to stand up. It's not just about dating single mothers. It's about you setting the precedent. It's about you being firm in your stance. No, you take that child and you and him, y'all go back together and you go be with your child's father, because that's what's in the best interest of that child. Stop allowing women to use other men as crutches, you know, so that they can they have the child, they have control of the child, and then they can regulate the relationship that exists between the man who they're using as a foster daddy and the child, because at the end of the day, she has a say so, she has control, and that's not acceptable. You know, we have got to be men. We got to stand up. We got to put an end to this and kind of rein this society back in, especially Black society. And it starts with us. It doesn't matter what women do, but we as men have to stand up and act like men and be men. And, you know, that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm arming young Black men, old Black men with the truth that they can use in these discussions. That's it, man.
And brother, I really thank you for, you know, just coming in and speaking up on our behalf, because, you know, a lot of times with a lot of talented, educated Black men, you don't have to. You've accomplished enough in your life where you can just be like, well, you know, you over there, and just and you know, because a lot of brothers do that, and not that, you know, because they don't really see, well, you know, I don't want to put myself out there, but I do appreciate the fact that you're autonomous enough in what you do to give your opinion that helps our community. And a lot of brothers do appreciate it. I'm one of the brothers that appreciate it. I thank you so much for, you know, lending your expertise to our community. And guys, make sure you go and subscribe to Dennis Sperling. You know, you heard it first. He's the next one to blow up. So when I'm gonna take credit for his whole entire life now, y'all know me. So go ahead and subscribe to him.
Inspiration.
Pin to the top. He's a really, really good, talented creator. You know, he's gonna be growing on this community. Any last words you have, brother Sperling?
Man, it's a big sacrifice. You know, I've definitely made a lot of enemies advocating on behalf of Black men. Who knew? You know, I've had my own family members, you know, fall out with me because of some of the things, female family members, some of the things I say on Facebook, and I've actually had to, you know, I've kind of had to go off on my own, you know, and do without. Now, people that really appreciate what I'm doing and they see what I'm doing is sincere and it's benefiting Black men and the Black community, they understand. They understand. But, you know, I've lost clients, I've lost the favor of family members, you know, so it's been a very interesting journey over the past 5 years, 6 years. But I'm here to do my part to help brothers and to uplift Black men. And hopefully you guys will appreciate that. But you can join me at Dennis Sperling Unfiltered. I'd love to have you guys come in. I try to do a daily show, at least sometimes twice a day, because there's so much to cover, you know, but you know, man, O'Shea, man, look, man, I love your show, man. I told you this before, and I don't want to. Me and my kids love your show, man. My son, sometimes I have in the backyard listen to what he said. Listen to what they love. I'm like, oh yeah, man. So you keep doing what you're doing too, man. I appreciate it, man. God bless you.
All right, and guys, thank you so much. Thank you again. And now I don't want y'all to be complaining, talking about it. I didn't bring nobody smart onto my show. I've been doing the Celebrity Junkie, brother. Yeah, brother, you don't used to bring intelligent folks on your show, man. What happened to that, brother? So I thank you, attorney, for coming on, guys. And make sure you go to the first comment pinned at the top. Check out his channel. Go subscribe. And as you know, the buffoonery remains an all-time high. I'm out. Peace.